What if the US government secretly drugged you to control your mind? Prepare for a twist that shook the world. Imagine the 1950s, the height of the Cold War. The planet split in two. On one side, the capitalist West. On the other, the communist Soviet bloc, with accusations of brainwashing American POWs in Korea. In the US, the panic was real. CIA agents whispered about Russian and Chinese techniques that turned people into soulless puppets. It was in this paranoid fever that on April 13th, 1953, director Alan Dulles approved Project MKULTRA, evolving from earlier programs like Bluebird and Artichoke. The plan? Create mind control tools for interrogations, blending hallucinogenic drugs, hypnosis, and psychological tortures.
I was given a glass of Kool-Aid, and so were the other children. This Kool-Aid was spiked with LSD.
Funded by millions of taxpayer dollars with no real oversight, and even inspired by Nazi experiments with mescaline in camps like Dachau. At the helm, Sidney Gottlieb, the chief chemist, a guy with a banal appearance, but a genius for the sinister. He spread 149 sub-projects across universities, hospitals, and prisons, using fronts like fake foundations. The CIA even bought up the world's entire LSD stock from Sandoz for testing. Think of Canada, at McGill University, where Dr. Donald Ewan Cameron treated mental patients like disposable lab rats.
My father was a victim of Dr. Cameron. He was a 27-year-old, healthy skier, canoer, very athletic, and he had asthma. They told him if he went to the Allen Memorial, they could cure his asthma.
People with depression or anxiety went seeking a cure and left destroyed. Massive LSD doses, electroshocks 30 to 40 times more potent than normal, sensory isolation for weeks, and psychic driving with tapes repeating negative phrases for 16 hours straight.
The day that my father was brought to the hospital, they immediately put him on insulin, to put him into like an insulin coma. They took clips from the interview with the shrink and put it on tape to run a loop under his pillow while he was put into this sleep treatment.
He also was put in an insulin coma for 36 days with a recording beside him saying that your mother hates you over and over and over and over and over.
In the US, the horror seeped into unexpected corners. In San Francisco, Operation Midnight Climax turned brothels into secret labs. Prostitutes hired by the CIA dosed clients with LSD without warning, while agents spied through fake mirrors, filming it all like a real-life horror show. Victims? From addicts and prisoners to innocent public servants. Frank Olson, an army biochemist at Fort Detrick, a devoted father, thought he was fighting the greater evil. But at a 1953 meeting, his drink was spiked with LSD. Suddenly, infernal hallucinations, walls melting, accusing voices. He returned home a broken man, paranoid, questioning loyalties. These stories hit deep because the victims were like us, ordinary folks. A college student signed up for a psychological study for a few bucks and ended up with irreversible brain damage. Nurses in asylums watched patients howl in terror after clandestine injections. At first, it was scientific curiosity. What if we could erase bad traumas? But it turned into an ethical nightmare. A prisoner in Georgia convulsed for days after experimental doses of barbiturates and amphetamines. Families got vague letters about regrettable incidents. The CIA sold it as defense against communism, But the toll? Lives pulverized, without consent, trampling basic human rights. Over time, even the agents saw the chaos. Rising suicides, forced commitments, homes torn apart. Yet the program lurked in the shadows until the first cracks of light appeared. Now we dive into the dark core of this insanity. The conflict was raw. The CIA hunted mental weapons to dominate the Cold War, but the human cost was an abyss. In 1953, Gottlieb bet on LSD as the star, testing on volunteers, in quotes, because consent was an illusion. Imagine an agent casually saying, "Take this, it's harmless," but it led to total breakdowns. In a federal prison, inmates swallowed daily doses for months, emerging as empty shells. Whitey Bulger, the future crime boss, was one. Monsters sprouted from the walls. My mind liquefied, he recounted later. It was science twisted into cruelty, wrapped in a patriotic flag. The tension rose with increasingly brutal experiments. In Canada, Cameron's psychic depatterning fried brains with intense shocks and negative audio loops, leaving patients without identity. A victim like Jean Watts, based on real accounts, woke up asking her daughter, "Mommy, who are you?" Heartbreaking, shocking. The CIA funded it with hidden checks, and Cameron swore it was therapy, not mind control. In the US, Olson's drama unfolded like a shadowy thriller. Post-dose, he doubted everything. Are they spying on me? Is this right? Days later, in New York, he fell from the hotel window. Official suicide, but his family smelled murder to silence him. Haunting facts. Tests on vulnerable orphans? Documents suggest yes. In 1973, Director Richard Helms orders files incinerated. Why? Fear of leaks. Survivors whispered horrors. A woman in Kentucky endured sexual abuses disguised as treatment. In 1975, the New York Times drops the bomb based on leaks, unmasking MKUltra. The Senate's Church Committee digs deep, and Gottlieb swears in testimony, "Yes, we drugged innocents with LSD, but the blow, files destroyed, full truth evaporated." The Olson family gets a measly $750,000. Government admits error.
The whole thing was basically discovered because of a whistleblower named John Marks, who wrote the first book really about the program called The Search for the Manchurian Candidate. There were congressional hearings here in the United States in the mid-70s after it had been exposed. And during those hearings, the CIA finally admitted that this program existed. They admitted that it was probably not the right thing to do, but they feigned innocence.
MKUltra officially ended in 1973, but only in 1977 did the Senate release partial reports from 20,000 pages found via the Freedom of Information Act. Thousands of victims never saw full justice. Many died in the dark. Olson's sons exhumed his body in 1994, proving pre-fall cranial trauma, screaming homicide. In Canada, in 1988, 127 survivors sued and won $100,000 each. But in 2017, more suits against the CIA and government yielded millions. Damage irreparable. Cruel irony. Under the pretext of safeguarding freedoms, they violated minds, echoing Nazi experiments they swore to fight. Stories like this prod us to watch power, honoring lost souls. They didn't fall in vain. They warn us never to blink. What if a government secret like this was unfolding in your life right now? Share in the comments what outraged you most, and tag a friend to discuss.